Hello and welcome to the Neville Richards Premier League wrap of Round 6, preview of Round 7. I'm Mark Hayes. He is the maskless Matt Milne. Welcome.
G'day Hazy, how are you?
Good to have you. I'm well, thanks. Very well. Thank you for asking.
That's all right, yes. It's been an exciting weekend, as we say, in the classics.
It certainly has. It's really good to see you back out of the mask. I know you've been doing the right thing.
Yes. The wife was tested positive to COVID last week, so she's all good, all healthy. I'm stayed negative. I don't think I can actually catch this virus because I thought it'd be a fair chance to get it. The amount of people that we deal with, but no, all good and ready to go for this week.
Very good, and it has been an action-packed weekend. A little brisk in the weather department, but there was no let up in the heat of the competition, was it?
It was. There was a couple of tight, close tussles out there, and then we had probably the upset of the season occurred.
Well, I'm going to give us
maybe 1 week too late.
Well, devastating for those who wanted to see the top of your box. But that aside, we have to give a little round of applause to the Tower Road Tornadoes for finally getting off the mark.
They did. They've still on the bottom of the ladder, mind you, but they have notched up their first win of the season.
And it was a big shock, wasn't it? Because the Warriors, the 20 Acre Warriors, have been playing really well.
They were one of the most consistent teams that we've had through the season, but it just goes to show that you've got to have players on the course. So the Warriors only had 6 players, and Tornadoes were the same. So it was 6 on 6. So there was no, if you want to call it, uneven balance of teams there. Everything was all balanced and ready to go, and the Tornadoes got over the top.
And a pretty heroic performance by Phil Stevens.
Yeah, Philby notched him with a little 40 points at the end of the day. Other scorers for the Tornadoes was Brian Bell on 32. Wardy and Paddy Kennedy had 29, and Johnny Hill was 26. So, but the Warriors, Stewie Anderson had 33, Skeeter had 32, Richie House 27, Neil Keskinen 26, and then I suppose the embarrassment of the team was Ando. Was playing against his mate Wardy and Paddy, and he couldn't get up at all. Only had 24 for a 2 or 3 marker. That is shocking.
I think time's coming for him to be really bet upon here. We need to put the heat on him.
Well, the heat's on, but one thing I will give though, that he was very helpful to his playing partner Paddy.
Well, I heard what happened there. There's a bit of frivolity on the course.
Yes, well, I can't say it was even in celebration of the win because the boys played early, but yeah, on 18, somehow Paddy's golf buggy and bag ended up in the water hazard on 18. Whole thing went in. He had his phone left in his pocket, so that was one bonus. But yeah, the sticks went in, but his mate Ando was there trying to pull him out of the water, and yes, it was quite an hilarious few minutes.
Did we see exactly how it unfolded? Or?
Yeah, I think the park brake wasn't put on, and it's just the wind's taken it down the hill and straight into the water. So he was inquiring whether Ping would replace his new clubs, which he's only had maybe 4 to 6 months.
Wow.
But we were able to retrieve all of them. So.
And just when the sticks appeared to be heating up after the previous week's heroics, they've ice cold again.
Yes, they have. So at least he contributed this week with 29. But it was interesting though, the Tornadoes were the 3rd highest scoring team for the round.
It's extraordinary.
Yeah.
So they've broken their duck. Still, as Matty says here, they're on the bottom of the ladder, but they're actually within half a game of the back-paddock bullies. So you're just never out of this competition.
You aren't, and with the Warriors too, that they even actually held on to 4th spot on the ladder, even with that loss. So, but it's getting a bit tight through that middle section where we can got quite a few teams fighting for the top 4.
Perhaps one team that let go a golden chance, really, of moving higher up the ladder and even into the 4 were the Pigden Street Pirates, and they're a bit of an enigma, aren't they? They've lost this time to the crossover Crusaders of all teams, and really, that's a golden chance gone begging.
It was 2 points the difference in that match there. Pirates only 5 players, so all 5 scored, so they all had to be on their game, and unfortunately, they weren't. Crusaders had 7 play, so they had a little bit of an advantage, you may say there. But the Crusaders, Johnny Leaking, another little 33. One Cloud Siotis knocked in 31. I'm very proud of Lee, actually, because he's played every round.
There's been a lot of clouds.
And he has lifted for his team on participation. Wow. That's what they used to award at school, wasn't it? The participation award. Well, Lee's actually leading that, I would think. Normie Evans and Benny Hoskin had 29, while Manny Golfers chimed in with 28 for the Crusaders. The Pirates, the vice captain Heaton, he knocked in with 37. Justin McGrath 33, Pete O'Neill 30, Yvette Pollock 22, and then Johnny Crossett unfortunately wound up the back of the group with only 22. So with only that two-point margin, even if a couple of those had have added a couple of extra ones in there, could have made the difference. But I think Solar Hub's player management, what do you want to call it? The player management, what's the word there, Hazy? You're a wordsmith.
The management of injuries, etc.
Yeah, well, that just blew up in his face. He decided to go boozing and not did anything with the team, which then obviously cost them the victory.
I heard on the grapevine that Gary Thompson was a bit dark, that he didn't sort of, when he saw that 22 was one of his teammates counting scores, that he thought he could have potentially bowled that over.
Yeah, well, it just goes to show you just need to turn up for your team if you can. If it is looking a little bit ominous, but just still turn up, because you never know. Surely Gary Thompson could have had more than 22.
I think that's potentially the case. Now, moving on to the third game, Matty, it was, it was a potential showdown here that could have changed the ladder positively for the Hookers, but as it's happened, a huge result here has thrown the ladder back into outside the Madonna's Peakers, of course, who you'll discuss in a second. It's thrown the ladder into a bit of a wide open race again.
Yes, the Peakers won again. They just keep doing what they do. 160 to 146 was the top of the table clash. Peakers had 9 players while the Hookers only had the 6. For the Peakers, Julie Milne coming off 2 wins this week, knocked in with 37.
How about that?
My man Leroy McMurrich had 33. Then we also had
your man,
my man Leroy,
potting in mercilessly.
Yeah, I am converted. We'll get on to someone else now. Peter O'Neill had 31, Yarny 30, Pete Vogel had 29. While for the Hookers, Brian Burrell tried hard with 34, Kenny Hughes, Jilly Barker 31, Sweens had 26, and then on 24 we had either the President or Lynn Kirby. So couple of low scores there as well, which cost their team.
So the Hookers have gone from Pitt Street to another location in the past couple of weeks, and they've tumbled down to third, and the heat's coming on them, isn't it?
It is, yes. I think they might have some inclusions this week, which might actually help strengthen their team. But the depth of the Peakers just seems to be too much for most of the teams this time.
Very excited. We might talk about this later, but to get Ian Woodhouse back potentially next week. But we'll come to the previews a little later on. The fourth game, Matty, the result was the where the Callaway products were dished out, and they went to the Granny's Corner Goblins over the Back Paddock Bullies.
Yes, the Goblins finished with 162 to the Bullies 155, so another close contest. As Hazy said there, the Callaway balls for the high scoring team goes to the Goblins. Not to harp back on the Peakers, but Norma Vogel, who plays for the Peakers, only had 2 points for the last 3 holes, which could have potentially cost the Peakers winning 5 in a row. So, yeah, Goblins top scorers for the balls.
G'day Norma.
Yes. For the Goblins, we had Daniel Hopgood again, 37. Robbie Moorcroft back to form with 33. Flea Pollock, 32. Pete DeFazio, 31. And Toby Prime, 29. While for the Bullies, Stan Maskell had a 34, Billy Reid and Jackie Rowe 31, Johnny Wooten 31, and Kev Hudson had 28. But the AM players dominated this match with the Goblins. A lot of their scores come from the morning. And as I said, Robbie Moorcroft returned to some forms. The Bullies were out the last 2 weeks. Hero Swaney, he withdrew late in the morning. 6:45 I received a text message to say he was unavailable. Not sure what he was up to, but definitely potentially cost his team.
We're going to talk a little bit more. I'll bring him up again in a second. Daniel Hopgood going absolutely great guns. For the moment, let's have a quick look at the ladder. So as you can see, things really tightening up there in the middle of the table in particular, from the Goblins down to, well, I'd even say the Pigden Street Pirates, if they can sort of put their best foot forward a couple more weeks coming up. They're not out of it either, but it's really tightened up in the middle there, coming up to the mid-season break now. Before we preview round 7, Matt, we want to just discuss, firstly, our sponsors. A huge thanks to Callaway again. They're just tremendous, aren't they?
Yeah, it's been fantastic, the support that they've given us for this inaugural event. So, yeah, really thankful to those guys, and also to the Neville Richards guys as well. So,
yeah, and I'm going to suck up to Luke Campbell, see if he can come up and give us a bit of a halfway wrap next week, so that'd be good. Also, we want to just quickly just tell you that we'll be discussing at length a bit more next week before the halfway break about what's going to happen at the end of the season. So we'll a lot more on that next week. We might even have a name for our equivalent of the Brownlow.
Yeah.
Just got to vet a few extra names that got to go through the process.
Surely the Milne Doggy would be the favourite, wouldn't it?
Well, the missile warmed into it.
Oh, did it? Okay.
But, no, it's sort of waned a little bit. We haven't seen much action from the missiles. So.
Yeah, okay, good.
Can we see some later here now as we head
No,
into the
I'm going to be nice and easy for everyone in the last round 7.
Are you sure COVID hasn't got you?
No, I'm fine. It's all good.
Really?
Yep.
Wow. All right, well, let's head into the preview of week 7 this week. It's Madonna's Peakers, the seemingly unassailable Madonna's Peakers against the back paddock Bullies. Matt, this one should be a walk in the park.
You would think so. And as Hazy alluded to, we've got the bye coming up after Saturday, so there'll be 2 weeks off there. But after this round on Saturday, that'll mean that each team has played each other once. So it'll give us a good cross-section there. And if the Peakers can go through undefeated through the first 7 rounds, you think their confidence will be sky high for round 8. But yeah, the Peakers, it's hard to see where they can sort of get done from here unless some players go down or can't turn up there. So even when their high-scoring performer in Leroy doesn't perform to his lofty standards, there's always someone that seems to stand up. If the Bullies are to be competitive, I think that they really do need some inspiration from Matty Miles. He's been shocking the last few weeks.
Is this your missile?
No, not a missile, just a little dart, you might as well say. But Miles, he like 23 points last week for a low single figure. It just doesn't cut the mustard there. Wayne Dixon also needs to lift because he's been poor. Also, Johnny Wooten and Fiona Newman needs to put in a good performance as well. So if they want to even get close to the Peakers, they need to perform.
Big time. Now let's push on to the second game. The Hood Road Hookers against the suddenly informed Tower Road Tornadoes.
Yeah, so it's going to be 3rd versus 8th here this week. The Tornadoes should come in with a bit of confidence after their win over the top 4 Warriors last Saturday. And the Hookers do need to regroup after losing their last 2. So as we alluded to earlier, starting to struggle a bit. Tornadoes will be hoping for an injection of quality players missing from last week with Paul Kirby, another one boozing at the Swan Hill races last week. Haven't seen him since he's been back. Hopefully he made it back. Jeff Holland, Bernie Reid, Ange Foote, while the Hookers will be hoping Woody could be back. Ian Party. Brian King's been ill. I've been quite concerned about him. So he missed again on Saturday. So, and then...
Trust he's okay.
Well, he played golf today, so he looks all right. But I was quite concerned for his health due to his age, with everything that's going on. So the Hookers need a win to cement their position in that top 4.
I'm going to sort of put a little question to you without any notice at all. John Bowman, he's been in struggle street in this competition. Clipped himself today, took a bit of bark off in the Tuesday competition.
I did see that, yeah.
I won't tell you how John described it, but it had something to do with an animal roaming around with a pink backside on the Serengeti top of his head. He thought it was a little bit baboon-like. Maybe I've gone a bit too far there. Anyway, I'm going
might have knocked some sense into him.
What do you think? Is he under the gun?
Yes, he has been under the gun. Like last Saturday, 24 points. But he can turn it around really quickly. Yep, with that short backswing, he can turn it around, keep it under the wind. But whether he's got enough fortitude to lift this week, who knows?
Now, I just want to mention before I turn it over to you for the Granny's Corner Goblins versus the Crossover Crusaders, we will talk more next week about the All Portarlington team, but I really want to mention Daniel Hopgood, who's, along with Lee McMurray, played his way into strong contention for that very prestigious squad. He's on fire here for the Goblins, isn't he? He is.
He's been the model of consistency and the backbone of that team. A win for the Goblins will cement their position in the top 2. But the loss may see the Peakers move 3 games clear. So if they lose to the Crusaders this week. Goblins consistent all season. Gary Haywood's actually just come back from Townsville. Said he played like rubbish up there. So he might be looking for some improvement this week, getting back on his home deck. While the Crusaders will be hoping Sue Holland, Jan Cogger and Bill Adams can come back and put some good scoring capabilities into their team. Hope that they've had a couple of wins now in a row, I think, the Crusaders. So if they can cause the upset and the Warriors lose to the Pirates, they could sneak into the top 4 going into the bye week.
Wouldn't have thought that a couple of weeks ago.
No.
So it's a good bounce back from the Crusaders. The last game for your, for your perusal, Matty, is the 20-acre Warriors and the Pigden Street Pirates.
Yes, 4th versus 6th here. Could be the closest contest of the round. Did you know that there's only 0.24% separating these teams?
I did not.
Yeah, so as you can see, quite evenly matched there, but I would think that the Warriors would be stinging after that loss to the Tornadoes. Like, I've had a couple of chats to some of their players this morning, and quite sheepish in their performance.
Who's the one who delivers the rockets for the Warriors?
For the Warriors,
Like when they go into the rooms and have that, that heated discussion about who didn't turn up. Who fires the shot?
I don't think they've got any.
No leaders.
No, well, Nipper Dodds would, but he can't say anything because he didn't play last week. He was probably away boozing as well. But yeah, I don't know. They're all sort of fairly demure. Skeeter Howard, he's short and small, so he might have angry small man syndrome. He might fire up, but no, they're all. And Ando can't say anything because he's been putrid. So
you're 1 week away from a missile.
Yeah, no. Well,
you are. You got to get into him.
No, I can't. Not to me mate Ando. He did actually say that if I shave my head, he's going to shave the beard.
Is that right?
Yeah. What do you reckon, Ando? Beard shaving if your team loses at one stage. So
I reckon that'd be worth seeing.
It would be.
I'd like to see what's on that little chinny chit of his.
And he said it will never happen. So
Really?
if we want to see it happen, just keep getting stuck into him.
Yeah.
But both teams have the nucleus for a competitive outfit. Stewie Anderson and Ando should match up well against Juzzy McGrath and Darren Heaton. Inclusions of Jeanette Johnson and Nipper for the Warriors, while the Pirates could have up to 5 inclusions after last week that didn't play. So Gary Thompson, Dave Newman, Joy Francis and Peter Solahub, they can provide some much needed grunt for their team.
Grunt, I like that. It's a good word. Grunt and nucleus in one sentence from you. That's your science teacher would be proud.
Been reading the dictionary. My son's had an English exam this week, so we've been working hard.
Very, very good. Well, that's it, I reckon, for the Week 7 preview and the Week 6 review earlier. Matty, appreciate your time as ever.
Thank you, Hazy. It's always a pleasure coming in here on a Tuesday and talking all things golf.
Neville Richards Premier League, you wouldn't be anywhere else. Catch you next time.
See you next week.